Welcome back, crafty friends. It's Alicia of the Call Me Crafty Al YouTube channel, and it is time for another blog hop for the Just Cards video hop. This was a collaboration that Christine Meyer started last month, and I will link that video in the description box below and pop it up in the upper right corner now. But what is going to happen is each month we are given a theme, and we are going to create a card using that theme. Last month's was masculine, and for this month it is rainbow. So I'm showing you here a few of the supplies I'm going to be using for my card today, and I'm going to be using an emboss resist technique with the watercolor markers. So I'll go through the supplies that I pulled out. If I add any during the video, then I'll be sure to let you know about those. But what I did, I pulled out my Versamark, and the first one that I pulled out, and the one that's the most juicy that I have, is the Dazzle. So it's a little sparkly. I don't know if you'll be able to see that once it's embossed, because I did also pull out some clear embossing powder to use. Down here I have pulled out a rainbow of colors of my Zig Clean Color Real Brush markers, and so of course I have my water brush marker with that. I will be using this stamp, Believe in Your Dreams, and a rainbow embossing folder. Both of these are part of the new $2 bins at Michael's. This did come with a clear stamp as well. And for papers, I have a top fold card base. This is a piece of pattern paper from the new die cuts with a view pad that you can buy at Joann's called Wild Flourish, and that is 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. I have a piece of vellum that I cut to 3 3/4 by 5 inches tall, and then this last piece is just a scrap of I think it's mixed media paper, and I'll be doing my watercoloring on this, so I just needed a little scrap. Let's go ahead and get started. The first thing I'm going to do is go ahead and get my watercoloring done so that it has some time to dry before I put the card together. So like I mentioned before, I'm going to be using the Believe in Your Dreams stamp with the Versamark ink. This ink is nice and sticky, so it holds the powder very nicely. I know you really can't see that on camera, but it is stamped. I'm going to go ahead and pour some of the clear embossing powder just right over that. I am going to go to my other table and heat emboss this. I'll be right back. Not sure if you can see that, but it is clear emboss now. What's going to happen, I'm just going to kind of scribble my colors on this piece of paper, and you will notice that where the embossing powder is, or where it's embossed, it will not pick up that color. So that's why it's called Emboss Resist. And that way on the final product you will be able to see my sentiment. So just kind of not very carefully or whatever, I'm just gonna, like I said, scribble some color. So I have that all laid down. Now, I did goof up, and the one that I wanted to use here, I actually switched those two, but you know what? We're just gonna make it work. So I have my water brush. I'm gonna pull out a paper towel here and get it started. Start up with this color and just blend it right into that next. If you think you're getting too much of the dark color, you can go and clean off your brush. And you'll see some of the ink beaded up on the words, and so when it's a little bit drier, I will go in and I'll tap that off just to pull that color off the letters so those are more bold so you can see them better. So we'll go ahead and set this aside to dry, and then we'll get our card base ready. This is going to be a really quick card to put together. I think the hardest or the longest part is going to be the watercoloring and waiting for it to dry. But what I'm going to do with this vellum piece is emboss it with that rainbow embossing folder. I did talk in one of my videos, it was a Sweet Treats collaboration video, on how I emboss with these folders because they were cutting into the vellum. So what I do for this is I make a special sandwich. I have the regular A plate here, and on top of it I have a piece of chipboard. If you don't have chipboard, probably a layer or two of cereal box would work. And the next thing I do, I put my vellum down on the back of the folder, so the part that's debossed, get that where I want it, and then I take just a scrap of cardstock and lay it over the top. This allows for the pattern to be embossed on the vellum, but it does not let that top part cut through the vellum. On top of the folder, I put my C plate, which is the thicker, and that is the whole sandwich. Now, because I'm not using another plate, I do run it through forward and backward to make sure it embosses okay. You'll see here that it embossed, but it did not tear the paper. And when you do this, you can use it either way. You can use it with the raised part up, or you can turn it over and have it debossed. So that would be up to you. What I'm going to do now is adhere this to the front of my card base. And one of the things I love about these die cut with a view new papers from Joann is that they are all double-sided. If you would like to see a flip through of all of the new pads at Joann's, the 4 new that I picked up, I will link that video below and pop it up in the upper right corner now. But they have 4 pads right now out at Joann's that are new, and they are all fantastic. I had to buy each one of them, so I do a flip through, and then that might help you decide if you want to get them all or if you like, you know, a couple more than the rest. So I hope you'll check that video out. Now, this part is pretty much done because I don't want to put adhesive on here until I know what part my sentiment will cover up. So I'm gonna go grab my watercolor piece and see if it's dry. All right, the sentiment is dry and ready to use. So before I put it on my card front, I am going to cut out around the outside edges of it. So just fussy cut the image. At the beginning of the video, I did mention how Christine Meyer had started this hop. I forgot to say that everybody who is participating in the hop is linked below. So I hope that you will go visit each and every one of the collaborators, because it is so neat just to see what different styles we have. Even though we are all making cards, we have a lot of different style card makers in this video hop. So I hope you'll go check them out, leave them some love, give them a thumbs up, and maybe let them know that you came from my channel. And there, my image is now cut out. So what I'm going to do is pop this up on some foam tape right in the middle of my vellum piece. I do want to get right as close to the edge of the image as I can. Because of the watercoloring, it does want to warp a little bit, so I want to try to get it to lay as flat as possible. Now, the reason I chose to use vellum behind this, not only did I want to use that new rainbow embossing folder, but I like the way that it tones down the pattern paper if it's a little brighter or a little bolder, just so my sentiment stands out nicely. What I'm going to do to adhere the vellum down is use my tape glider, my ATG, and I'm going to put adhesive on around the outside of where that sentiment is on the front. That way, you cannot see the adhesive I used from the front of the card. It will be hidden behind the sentiment. And it is complete. A super easy, quick card that has that fun emboss resist technique used on it. If you have enjoyed this video, I hope you'll give it a thumbs up. If you have any questions or if you have any comments, please leave those below. I always love comments and I like to help out with any questions you have when I am able to. If this is your first time to my channel, I hope that you'll hit subscribe. If you're already a subscriber or regular viewer, thanks again for stopping back by. As always, I hope you're having a crafty day.